Hi, I'm Dave Vickers and welcome to Photo Show. We've got another Photoshop tutorial today, and what we're going to look at this time is how to make a basic panorama within Photoshop. Now, to do this, you're going to need a series of images that can be stitched together to make a panoramic shot. And normally the best way to do this is to have the camera on a tripod and take a series of images moving around the horizon line and slightly overlapping each image as you go, so you've got some overlap between one image and the other. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to go to File, and we come down here to where it says Automate, and then in this selection here you've got Batch, PDF Presentation, blah 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 blah. Right at the bottom we have Photo Merge, so click Photo Merge. That now opens up a separate dialog box. This is the Photo Merge dialog box. Down this side you have a bunch of choices of how you'd like the photographs merged together. For what we're doing, we're going to keep it on auto and just let Photoshop work this all out. You can do perspective, cylindrical, spherical, collage, or reposition. So first thing we need to do is we need to find some images that we can put together to make our panorama. So come to Browse and open up, and I've got some images here that I took in Wales recently at the Gower Peninsula. As I was saying, I didn't shoot these on a tripod, this was just handheld, so we're going to give Photoshop some work to do here to get them together as a panorama. So first off, let's select all four of these images. So I'm going to click the first one, hold down Shift, click the last one, and we've selected all four of those images now. Click OK, and you can see now that those four image files are loaded into the Photo Merge dialog box. We've ticked at the bottom here, blend images together. I've not ticked vignette removal, and I've not ticked geometric distortion correction. We'll just leave it as it is, and we'll go with it as with those settings there. So we've got our four images. 3 or 4 is normally good for a panorama. It depends, you can take as many as you like really, but we're working with 4 here. So we're going to click OK, and now Photoshop's going to start to open up those images and blend them together. If you look on the layers palette here, you can see that the photos are beginning to come in, and we have a Photo Merge dialog box. So Photoshop's going to do the work for us now. You can see now it's aligning the layers. And it's going to blend the selection based on the content within each image. So it's looking for areas that should look like they overlap, should line up, and it's going to blend those together as a panorama for us. And there we go. It's blended all 4 images into one long panorama. Now obviously you can see here we've got areas where it hasn't had the information to fill in. It's by realigning the images we're losing some of the areas here, but you've got a couple of options here. You can see here on this view that you can actually kind of see where the stitching has happened. It looks like there's a line there and there's a line there, but if we zoom in on this image right where that seam is, you can see it actually disappears. It's not actually there. So let's go across this image and have a look. And what I'm looking for is any sort of obvious signs that where Photoshop has stitched the 4 images together. And looking at this, it's done a really good job. There's no visible stitch lines, and for some reason, I don't know why on the full screen view here it looks like you can see the stitch lines, but when you zoom into it, it's not there at all. So now we have our images stitched together. We've got a couple of options here. One of the options is that we can work to fill these areas in using something like ContentAware Fill. So let's try that for a start off. So I'm going to merge these images together. So I'm going to go Shift, Control, and E, and Shift, Control, and E has now merged those into one image file. And you can see now actually that the stitch lines have disappeared from the 100% preview as well. So a couple of options here. We could crop this into an area. So if we got the crop tool up and chose a width for it, let's choose a width of 20 inches there, and we'll leave the height as blank, and we could drag our crop to the ends there. Drag our crop to the other end there, just clip it on the end. Ever so slightly in a bit. There we go. And then we could also just adjust the top and the bottom like that. In fact, let's leave a little bit there, and let's leave a little bit there. So I've cropped it to, you know, a size that if you wanted to print this out as a panoramic print, you'd have a 20-inch long print, which would be a lovely size for this. So let's hit enter and crop that as it is. And there we go. It's cropped the image to the ratio that we set with the crop tool. But as you can see now, we've got blank spaces. We could have brought the crop tool in and made it a much narrower panorama. But let's try something and see if we can use the ContentAware Fill. So first off, I'm going to copy this layer. So I'm going to go Control and J. So now I've got a copy layer that I'm working on over the top. Next, I'm going to grab the square marquee tool. You can also get this by pressing just M on your keyboard. And I'm going to mark out this area that we want to fill here. Let's go right to the end. And what I want to do is I want to bring it down so it's actually touching a little bit of the sky as well there. So it's because we're going to use ContentAware Fill, it needs to know what content we're looking for. And obviously this is representing a blank space, but we've got some of the sky here, so we're giving Photoshop a clue of what we're actually looking for to do. So let's go Edit, Fill, and you can see here we've got various options on the fill. You could do various, use the foreground color, the background color, choose a color, black, white, 50% gray, but we're going to use ContentAware. So we click ContentAware and we click OK. Now Photoshop's going to look at what content is within that marquee box and fill in the blank spaces with something that hopefully closely represents it. So it's just going to progress through now. And there we go. So if I Control D to remove the marquee box, it's done a pretty good job. If we do have a look at it previously, that's the area we were missing. And we've now replaced that with more sky. So let's try this again. I'm going to merge these two down for the time being and see if we can fix the bottom bit with the beach and the rocks. This will be slightly harder because we've actually got, you've got quite a variety of different textures. You've got the grass, the rocks, some of the sea, the beach, and the grass again the other side. So let's try again. Let's go Control J, M for our marquee tool, and let's just do a selection across the bottom there and see what it gives us. I'm less confident about this one working, mainly because of the, as I was saying, the variety of different areas in there. So let's go Fill, ContentAware, and let's let that work that out. And amazingly, let's Control D. Let's give so Control and D to get rid of the marching ants where the marquee was. It's actually done a fabulous job. So let's have a look before. That's the area we were missing. After, that's the area. There we are. So in a couple of moves, we've actually filled this in to be a nice aspect panorama shot. So now, because the files I used to make this panorama, I hadn't adjusted at all. They were the files right at the camera, and I've made the panorama using those, so that now when I adjust them, I'm adjusting it as one image rather than adjust it as 4 separate images. I can now adjust this, make any adjustments to this as one complete image. So let's merge those down. Shift Control E, merge those down into one layer, and I'm going to Control J, so we've got an option here. And let's try some curves on this. So let's bring down the blacks there. Bring a little bit of weight into it with the whites. And there we go. it didn't take long at all. We've made a really basic panorama from 4 separate images. It's stitched together beautifully. I can't see any discernible stitch lines within it. Let's just zoom in and have a look at what we've actually got here. And because it's made up of separate images, it's actually a big file size. So you've got, you know, a lot. It's maintained the detail from each of the separate images to give us a really nice looking panorama. So there you go. That's how you make basic panoramas within Photoshop. It's mainly automated, and I was saying the only sort of extra work we did there was filling in the spaces that the panorama had left within the sky and the bottom of the image. But that's really quickly how you make a basic panorama within Photoshop. And after a little bit of work, you never know what you end up with. Let's have a look at some of the ones I'd done earlier. I'm going to save this one out. So merge those together, and I'll save this as that's 23. And here you go, here's a couple of versions that I worked on earlier on. So there's a full colour version of the panorama and a good looking black and white as well. So there you go. That's a really simple way to make panoramas within Photoshop. Hope this was helpful. I'm Dave Vickers. This is The Photo Show. Until next time, see you then.